So if you have gotten on the board due to a specific agenda item and you find out that was wrong, or you didn't have all the information, or gosh darn, we just can't lower dues by 50% because you think they should, which is pretty common, 20%, 30%, 50%. Now you've got that hole. You got to fill that vacuum in yourself. And you know what? There's plenty of stuff to do. There's plenty of positive ways you can contribute and make your mark.
HOA Insights is brought to you by 5 companies that care about board members: Association Insights and Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, HOA Invest, and Kevin Davis Insurance Services. You'll find links to their websites and social media in the show notes.
Hi, I'm Robert Nordlund of Association Reserves.
And I'm Julie Adamen with Adamen Inc. And this is HOA Insights, where we promote common sense
for common areas. Well, welcome to episode number 77, where we're again speaking with management consultant and regular co-host Julie Adamen. Today we'll be talking about an intentional board member, not just biding time or filling a role. Every association needs leaders, so today we'll be talking about intentional service and leadership. We want your association to thrive, and today we'll be giving you tools to move in that direction. Well, this is a follow-up to episode number 76, an absolutely fascinating conversation with Ed O'Connell, the attorney for an association that you probably don't know about. And that's what makes that conversation special. So you can hear about the board at the Madison, how they learned about structural concerns at their 60-year-old, 6-story high-rise, and how later on that day, a wing of the building condemned, and then realized that they had not only caught the problem before a collapse occurred, but they jumped ahead and they completed emergency repairs within just a few months. And I get energized by their story. Make sure you hear it. If you missed that episode or any other prior episode, take a moment after today's program to listen from our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or watch on our YouTube channel, where you can, of course, give it a like. And better yet, subscribe from any of the major podcast platforms so you don't miss any future episodes. Well, those of you watching on YouTube can see both Julie and I have some HOA Insights mugs. And I got that from our merch store, which you can browse through from our hoainsights.org website, or the link in our show notes. You'll find we have some specialty items for sale like this and some free board member Zoom backgrounds. So go to the merch store, find the mug you'd like, and I'll give that mug away free to the 10th person to email podcast@reservestudy.com, mentioning that particular mug, the mug that you want, and episode 77 mug giveaway. Well, we enjoy hearing from you, responding to the issues you're facing at your association. So if you have a hot topic, a crazy story, or a question you'd like us to address, you can contact us at 805-203-3130 or email us at podcast@reservestudy.com. And one of those listener questions prompted today's episode. Ken from Sacramento asked, "My neighbor talked me into being a board member. Now I am on the board, but I'm not sure I'm really making a contribution. Is that okay?" And Julie, does that sound like people you know?
It sounds like a lot of people I know, and a lot of people I'm sure all the listeners know as well. It probably isn't most of our listeners.
Yeah.
But is that okay not to contribute? No, it's not. It's not okay. It's not okay. And that's how we came up with today's title of the intentional board member.
Being intentional.
Mm-hmm. Being intentional. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, Julie, as you and I were talking in advance, you said something that I wrote down. Now that you're on the board, let's make it good for you and the association. And I like that framing our conversation today.
Yeah, and I get it. I would say most board members do not intend to become board members. They become board members because somebody left, or just like the person. Did he email or call? I don't know about
that. Was email.
He emailed and said, "My neighbor got me on the board." That happened. I was recruited to be on a board about 15 years ago because the previous board treasurer had embezzled about $20,000, and they knew that what I did for a living. So, in part of this industry, they were like, "Please get on the board." I was like, "Oh my God." But I did it, and it was a good thing. It actually ended up being a good thing. And, for us, it's kind of an old saying, it's a busman's holiday, right?
Yeah.
So That's what it
Well,
felt like.
we know what to do and how. But
Yeah.
I think there's something there that being on the board can be a very good thing. And if you know what you're trying to accomplish and what you're not trying to accomplish, that can make it fit into your life and not have it be overwhelming or destructive to a couple of years of your future.
Yes, or it can you can actually serve on a board and then get off the board and still have all your friends. I
Yeah.
mean, you can still do that. It just depends on how you deal with it. So let's just talk about some of those
Yeah.
things. I mean, Robert puts together bullet points and then we talk about some of these right here. But my favorite one is the one on the top here, which he put: get past the singular issue that got you on the board. Well, so like our emailer, he got on the board because he was kind of coerced into it by his neighbor. People got on the board because, like I said, all these various different reasons. But let's just say you ran for the board and you wanted to make sure all the petunias are white. I actually had someone run for, when I was managing, back in the day, I had someone actually run for the board because they wanted all the petunias to be white. And we had a lot of petunias in that community. So that obviously didn't happen because it was such a singular thing. The person ended up being quite productive on the board in other ways. So that worked out well.
I like that story.
Exactly. And actually, she ended up being chair of the architectural committee. And it was a large scale association. So it was over 1,000 units, condos in Southern California. So very productive person, but that was the impetus to get her on there, is that she just didn't like the way it looked. But she was malleable and ended up being very productive because she took those energies and put them somewhere else. So I would say if you got on the board because you had a specific agenda, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying, you wanted to lower dues or, fire the landscapers or, get rid of management or whatever it is. And when that happens a lot, because that's what motivates people to do something and just say, okay, I'm going to run because I want to fix this. But then if you get on the board and find out that your thought processes and your impressions were wrong about how that particular thing was operating or why the board was doing this a certain way, and all of a sudden, you become privy to all kinds of information that you didn't have or background you didn't have about that instance of whatever you wanted to change. Now you have all that pent up energy as a board member. Well, I was going to get the petunias all white, whatever it is. Take that energy and channel it elsewhere, just like and other board members. That's part of you to help them channel that. You know what needs to be done. Let's get them onto something different. And like I said, with that board member I had, incredibly productive, really good board member, and also head of the architectural committee at the time. So that worked out really well because her energy's channeled elsewhere, and she was willing to do that. So if you have gotten on the board due to a specific agenda item and you find out that was wrong, or you didn't have all the information, or gosh darn, we just can't lower dues by 50% because you think they should, which is pretty common, 20%, 30%, 50%. Now you've got that hole. You got to fill that vacuum in yourself. And you know what? There's plenty of stuff to do. There's plenty of positive ways you can contribute and make your mark. And I think, Robert, what we first talked about was not being a placeholder, right?
Yeah.
Don't be just a placeholder. Yeah.
Right. Well, I like your idea of taking your energies and channel them. And another thing that you and I said that we were talking about before the episode was a little bit of be yourself. You are a person who has ideas, observations. Obviously, you got on the board because of one reason or another. You had something you wanted to accomplish. You were there to rescue. You were there to make things better, whatever it was. But when you find out what's going on at the board, you don't want to be just sitting there observing, because that's a tremendous waste of time for you and it's a waste of leadership for the association. The association needs someone who's going to lead and move it forward. So
yes,
I like that they volunteered, that showed initiative, or were not resisting enough that someone was able to talk them into it.
Yeah.
But once you're there, the association needs a leader. They need you to be you. They need you to say, well, I never understood the financials, so why don't you tell me what they mean so I can help? Because I bet there's so many people out there that have a good gut feel if someone can just open their eyes to what they're looking at,
yes,
whatever it might be.
I think you're right. I think people do have a good gut feeling, and you know the truth when you hear it. I mean, I think that some people, no matter what we're talking about, whether it's politics or anything, are willfully blind to things that are going on because it helps them with their worldview. However, I would say most people and most board members in my experience, they know when they're hearing the truth about something. And then, okay, I'm embracing the truth that we really can't lower dues like this. So what am I going to do now? And I'm going to become a productive member of this board. Where can I help? And that's actually servant leadership. The only question is, how can I help? It may not be the exact thing you thought it was going to be, but if they need someone to plug a hole and you're like, okay, I can do that. Let's just say they need someone to be the newsletter committee chair, and you're the person who can put that together, and that's where they need the help. Dive right in and help there. I mean, because you may think, oh, that's awful. I don't like to write. I don't want to do that. It puts me too high profile. To use the modern vernacular, I would say lean into it.
Yes.
If they need you, lean in. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, it's not nearly as bad as you think. In fact, your anticipation is a lot worse than the actual event or the actual assignment.
Yeah. I want to follow up on that. When you say lean in and you can help, we don't want board members to all of a sudden they see the insides of everything and they realize, oh, gee, there's so much to be done. And all of a sudden it turns into a full-time job. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about if they need help communicating. And maybe you got on the board because you had a misunderstanding about why the landscaper was doing this. And all of a sudden you find out that, oh, it's okay the way it is, and now I actually support last year's board's decision about that thing. Maybe you realize that you need to enhance communication. It's not about landscaping, and you get some of your friends and together you do it, because it doesn't have to be all on you. And that's what I want to encourage our listeners, that Julie used the word newsletter committee chair, not everything all in one. Is that fair?
Yes, that is fair. Okay. All of a sudden, I'm the newsletter committee chair. That means I need to find committee members. And that's a part about being intentional. Let's look who we can get as a committee member. Now, if there's someone that's really good, because you can go make a personal, talk to them personally and say, look, I need some help on this. I know you can write well because you used to do X or whatever. Would you like to help? And it's literally only going to take you about 2 hours a month. Be very honest. If it's going to take 5, tell them 5. You never want to do that bait and switch, because people will never forgive you for that. So, and if you can find 1 or 2 people that will do that with you, my goodness, not only do you have really productive committee members, whether it's newsletter, whatever committee it is, you have productive committee members, but you also have potential board members the next time around. If they are going to have a good experience with you as a board member, and now they have kind of a positive outlook about the association because they're a part of that positive outlook by putting forth good communication as the newsletter committee, all of a sudden you got yourself a little pipeline, and you just kind of extrapolate that, not just from you, but 4 or 5 other board members. And this is how things can work very, very well.
Yeah. I like the idea of refining. And something my mom would say is, many hands make light work.
Yes.
And if you can get people to help you, not only are you making it a pleasant experience where you can get someone who has a dog to talk about what the dog column in the newsletter, and you can have someone else who has high school kids talk about an upcoming play at the local high school, or the football season is about to start, or the big rival game is a week from Friday. Whatever it is, you can get people involved, and all of a sudden you're building community spirit, which is doing so many good things for the association, and all because you got on the board because you wanted to fire the landscaper.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. And I think that, and I'm sure many of our listeners and watchers out here today, they've had that experience where they got on the board because, somebody died, or because there was just an empty hole there, or there was 3 members on the board and 2 left. And so left 1 person holding the bag, and you're like, okay, I'll do that. But you can take that experience and make everything better, not just for you, but for the community. And I think it's exactly the bottom line of what we're saying here. That's a part of leaning into being the board member, being intentional about what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're thinking. And actually, I want to bring this to our listeners' attention too, is that when you're about being intentional, when you are on the board, let's just say you just volunteered because there was no one else to do it, and you just did it. You didn't really want to do it. remember, you are now a public person. And I know that turns a lot of people off, but you are a public person, even if your association has only 20 units. Everything you do, everything you say, how you talk with people, approach them, whether it's in a board meeting or even just out at the mailbox, is going to be scrutinized by somebody. So you just want to be very mindful of your intentions. So your intentions of being a board member aren't just to sit and, take up airspace at the meeting because no one else is in that chair. Your intention is to make things better. And when you have that attitude and you really mean it, the response other people will have to you, other homeowners, residents have to you as a board member, will be exponentially better as opposed to if you're just there placeholding, because once again, people can sniff out if you're placeholding. If you're just there to take up the air, they know it. If you're there to do something good with intent, they know that as well.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the email we got from Ken from Sacramento. Yeah, I just got talked into it. Now I'm on the board. And what do I do? And I wonder if every new board member had that idea that, what can I do to make things better? And maybe it is that person who doesn't understand the financials, that rather than just reporting the operating balance is this, the reserve balance is this, just numbers, he can say, what I've learned is this means that blank. And by the way, our delinquencies, which are the number of people that aren't paying their monthly dues, is down from last year, which frees up some cash flow. Just a couple more sentences of explanation, those kinds of things, making it better and improving communication and making the association better. And yes. I like that idea of now that I'm here, what can I do?
What can I do? How can I help? I'm running for the board of this association I live in, and they're very organized about how they do this. You actually have a position paper you put in. It's a large scale association and about 2,000 units. And, it's why are you running? And I said, I really have none. I literally put this on there. My only question is, how can I help? That's it, because I really have, the place runs very well.
Yeah.
And I know they do want some new blood coming in, because a lot of people have been on the board for quite a while.
New blood is healthy.
Yeah, it is. And I'm one of the few people that still works who would be on the board. I'd be the only person who works. So I have a different perspective, than a lot of folks who've been retired for 10 or 15 years. So it just is, and if it happens, it happens. If I don't get on, maybe I dodged a bullet. I don't know. But that's my only thing is, how can I help? I don't need to be on a board. I mean, believe me, I don't need to sit in more meetings, but I just want to help. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Julie, I want to come back to that idea of you bring the general you, whoever is running for the board, whoever is getting on the board, that person has a valuable perspective. But at this point in time, we'll take a quick break. It's time to hear from one of our generous sponsors, after which we'll be back with more HOA Insights.
Hi, I'm Kevin Davis, the president of Kevin Davis Insurance Services. Our experienced team of underwriters will help you when you get that declination. We provide the voice of reason, someone who will stand by you. Our underwriters bring years of knowledge to our clients that can't be automated by technology or driven by price. As a proud Anwins company, we bring true value to your community association clients. We are your community association insurance experts.
And we're back. Okay, Julie, we were talking about when you come on the board, you have a valuable perspective, and not only just because it's you as a individual that's new and unique to the other people on the board, but you have a fresh perspective. There may have been, or there may be the other board members that have the problem that they've always done it that way, or they see it one way. And that valuable perspective is, I just want to go and dive into that a little bit more.
Well, it is. It's really good. And let's just, our person who emailed us, what's her name? Tell me again. I'm sorry.
It was Ken from Sacramento.
Oh, okay. So just to say that if I'm just not, I don't feel like I'm not contributing. Well, no, whatever perspective you have is not the same as the people next to you. Definitely not. Even if everyone's retired or whatever, you still have a different perspective because your life was completely different than the person who's sitting next to you. You may be kind of together now because you're both retired, if that's the case, but you have a different perspective. And with different perspectives, I mean, it's boards, they're kind of like an amalgamation of of human beings, a small amalgamation, I'll say, and all of their perspectives make the board what it is at that point in time.
Yeah.
When a couple of people go off and new people come on, then it changes again. And all of it can be used for good. On the board, you have different personality types, and you have a gentleman who has been in insurance his whole life. And he will have a much more typically cautious way of approaching things than, say, an entrepreneur who is typically a risk taker by nature. And those two perspectives can meld together to make some really good ideas. So no matter what you did, if you're retired now, but if you're not and everyone's working, you all have a different perspective. So every single person brings value to the board, everyone.
Yeah, and it's that combination, and I can see those two individuals talking and talking and talking and figuring out what is indeed best for the association, which is the bottom line. And those two contrasting viewpoints end up speaking for two very different blocks of owners within the association that think similarly. And so together to have that idea come together with a solution, I like that. Some of our notes were observe, make decisions, and that's that participating. You see things. You're in different places of the association. Maybe you're on the ground floor. Maybe you're on the penthouse. Maybe you're out on the west end of the property where you're exposed to the woods, which may be a fire danger. Maybe you're a dog owner, and so you talk with the other dog owners when you walk dogs. There's so many things that you see that you can bring to the table that I want to make sure our listeners are hearing. That's a valuable perspective.
Very much so. Yes. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. I mean, and those are, like you're saying, the person that they're dog walkers. So, they're going to have a unique set of perspective. Number one, they walk the property all the time. But number two is that then there's a lot of dog owners. Maybe there's some things we should be doing for the dog owners, like putting in the doggy poop stations where they got the bags and somewhere to put them. I mean, which interestingly is something I may bring up with if I get on the board, because I'm a dog walker in the morning, and I notice that this time of year you're allowed to walk on the golf course, not on the cart path, not on the course. I carry little doggy bags with me all the time, but there obviously are people who don't. And I was thinking if they had those stations, there would be some more things cleaned up around there. So why not provide people that convenience? I mean, I know we talked about this part before, but that if you play pickleball, if you're one of those folks, I mean, you know what you need. And so all of it is, it's what your background has been, what your current job is, what you participate in. It gives you valuable perspective that the board can utilize as a whole.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking just going down the train of the dog walkers, if they're saying that, it's great that you got the new poop waste stations put in, but the one at the entry of the complex, at entry of the association, is always empty. So you just arm the dog walkers with replacement packs of the poop bags. And so they are participating, and they become volunteers, and they're contributing to the solution rather than waiting for the association to fix all their problems. There's so many things you can do. And you said it earlier, engaging the people, the residents within the association, getting a committee, and building community, because when you're building community, so many good things start to happen.
Yes, they do. And actually, that's the thing in our industry. So I come from the management side of the industry. And, you can go to seminars or webinars or whatever. I mean, any conference, and there'll be a talk about building community. And it's always such a nebulous thing for management, because you're thinking, oh my God, I've got so much to do. I can't help you build your community too. And honestly, management can talk about it, but it's the board and it's the committee members that make the community. It's they who really have their fingers on the heartbeat, that they know what needs to be done, and they know the types of personalities they have. And they are the ones who can put forth that feeling of community. Just look back to the dog walkers. I mean, we got all kinds of dog walkers here where I live. And if you go out at 6:30 in the morning, I live in Arizona. So if you go out walking the dog at 6:30, there's a whole group of people at 6:30. If you go out at 7:30, it's a whole different group of people. And so, and everybody has their little things that they do. Yeah. So, and it is a community of people who walk dogs. I mean, this is really sweet. There's an association down to Sun City about 8 or 9 miles from us, just down there. And they have, in the summertime, because most people are gone, we're in Arizona, so most people leave for the summer, but down there, they have something called Yappy Hour. And they do it on the golf course. They allow people to come bring their dogs out on the golf course, and people bring their own libations, but they call it Yappy Hour, and it's just a nice little social thing for the dog people.
And so the dogs are running free and having fun, and
yeah, I don't think they're running free, but they're
okay.
at least they were able to socialize. I think that's part of the deal. But really, it's for the dog walkers to socialize. So it's bringing people together who have this they have that one thing in common. I mean, my goodness, you may have never worked a day in your life in the sense of had a job outside the home, maybe have been a homemaker your whole life. And then here you are talking with, someone who's been a high-powered attorney their whole life because you have dogs in common. And to me, that's what it's all supposed to be about. So for the board members, if you start thinking that way about your community, I think you will find that you as a group, as a board, can do a lot to foster that kind of thing. And I will tell you, people want to be a part of something positive in their community. If everything is negative and there aren't enough, things, all we're having is special assessments and this and that. That's all we see, and all we get are no letters, no parking, no poop, no, that kind of thing. Yeah. People have a tendency to get an attitude about that. But if you can foster that type of community, and these are really simple things to do, and you're the new board member who just kind of got placed in there, grab it, hug it, make it your own, because you can have a huge positive effect on your community.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's as simple as walking slowly to the mailbox and back. And so you are there to engage in conversation and to spread the good news of, we are going to do this. This is happening. Oh, I learned this. And all of a sudden you yourself, the new board member, are with a smile on your face, are spreading good news and not fearing that, now that I'm on the board, I'm going to wait till after dark to go out to the mailbox and back.
That happens. That is a real thing. Yeah.
So just being intentional, being intentional about, we said earlier, what can I do to make things better? Well, one person at a time. I can say, I didn't see it at the last board meeting. We decided we were going to resurface the tennis courts, so it's going to be nicer. Or it's this time of year, or because the weather's been so good, we're going to extend the pool 2 more weeks into September or October or whatever. You can be sharing good news. And
there always is good news. Don't everyone think because it's an HOA that it's always, you're on the board. You guys should know it's not always bad news. People on the board here. So, but there's a very negative connotation about HOAs, even though statistically that does not bear out. I think what is the stat, Robert? Over 70% of people who live in any kind of HOA are happy and satisfied with their HOA. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. But all we ever hear is the bad stuff that gets on the news.
Well, so right. But that is the minority, and
it is
honestly that may be at your association, and you may have a couple of those people on the board that are, I don't like it this way. I don't want to make change, and we're stuck in this hole. And that may be a challenge for some of you board members, but I think what we want to encourage you is you have a valuable opinion, you have a valuable perspective, and if you can make things a little bit better, start to melt the ice. When we talk to Kevin Davis, he talks about lowering the temperature in the room. Yeah. Here, I think we're talking about maybe warming the temperature in the room.
Not too much, but we do like to keep it warm. We like to keep it warm. And I will real quickly back to you're saying we don't want to, not have to deal with the homeowner, so we run out to the mailbox when it's dark, right? Yeah. And I know that does happen. And I understand I've been a board member a long time, off and on. And so, yes, I get that. But if you will actually, if you do things like that, like you don't want to talk to anyone, that people know that and they can feel it. And it's not just confined to that one person. Everybody talks. So they're like, well, so-and-so never wants to speak to the homeowners. Well, you're on the board now, and I think it's incumbent upon you to speak to the homeowners. And again, what Robert said is so right on. You are out there spreading the gospel, people, the good news that is going on in the HOA. That is part of your charter because people don't focus on what's good. They focus on what they perceive as bad. Yeah. So that's part of what you should be doing. And people will feel like, again, they're a part of something positive. That's what they want. That's all they want.
Well, Julie, I'm looking at the time here. It's always great talking with you. I feel like you just about were wrapping things up, but any closing thoughts to add at this time?
Well, I guess the only thing I can say is that first, for all you people who volunteered for the board or got volunteered while you were out of the room or during cocktail hour or something and you ended up on it, and you're kind of wondering why you're there and what are you doing, I'm just going to say it again, lean into it. There is so much work to be done. It doesn't mean you have to work 24/7 at all, but there are things where you can channel your energies and make things better for your community, which, by the way, you live in, and it makes things better for you. A happy community, believe it or not, that can actually make real estate values go up because you don't have this really crummy reputation among realtors. And believe me, they all talk. So lean into it, embrace it. You're there, embrace it. You may as well make the best of it and help your community and yourself.
Fantastic. I like that very much. Well, we hope you learned some HOA insights from our discussion today that helps you bring common sense to your common areas. We look forward to having you join us for another great episode next week.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. If you like the show and want to support the work that we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing that you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comment section on our YouTube videos. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@reservestudy.com or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you gain any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members that you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that sponsor this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the hosts and guests, with the goal of providing general education about the community association industry. You'll want to consult licensed professionals before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelight Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.